What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal SpazPhoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and get out your time machines. Get out, warm up the flux capacitor, get the DeLorean up to 88 miles an hour. Somebody go back in time and tell me, when was the last time I talked about TNA on this channel? I mean, I mentioned things here and there, but when was the last time that I did actually a TNA themed video? I made a decision a long time ago that, kind of like I watch Raw and I analyze the hell out of Raw to come and talk to you guys about it, whereas I kind of leave SmackDown alone and I just watch it for the sake of watching it. And you need to have something like that when you're a wrestling fan, because if you analyze the hell out of every single thing, you lose the enjoyment factor. And it was, on a broader scale, I made that decision when it came to brands. I decided I was going to analyze the hell out of WWE and leave TNA kind of for fun, which is why I stopped as quickly as I started reviewing the TNA pay-per-views, and I never really got myself involved in reviewing Impact unless it was very, very important, and we ended up doing it on Wrestling Paradise with me and Alex and Preston and whoever else. But it doesn't make me any less of a TNA fan. Going into this year, we heard, vaguely, that there were going to be a few less TNA pay-per-views, which, on the whole, is good. I mean, you're spending less money, more build towards each show makes each show more special, makes more people willing to shell out the money if they don't have to do it as often, and the build is better. That's fine, but then we get the actual breakdown of of what's going to happen this year and moving forward, and this is... I don't know, I'm not going to hate on it, but I'm just going to go through some of the elements, because I've been to, Dixie Carter's Twitter, I've been to the actual TNA website, I've been to a couple other places for a couple other details and whatever, and I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to give my thoughts on all the different elements that I've read about, because not all of them are horrible, but on the whole, like, encompassing everything that they plan to do this year, I don't see it working, and I don't see it gaining them anything. It's going to lose them some stuff, and I'll get to that when we get to it, but I don't see it really gaining them anything. Now, the rumor was at the end of last year we were going to go from 12 pay-per-views down to 9, I believe. That was the original rumor. When, in fact, we are going from 12 live Sunday night pay-per-views to 4. Genesis, Lockdown, Slammiversary, and Bound for Glory. Now, there's another one missing that I personally think is missing from that should have stayed a live show, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Price-wise, now you're thinking you're cutting your price by a third, so that's a heck of a lot less money you're spending on TNA pay-per-views if you're somebody like me that doesn't watch them on a stream and actually does buy them. On a side note, yes, I buy all my pay-per-views, even the ones in TNA, even the filler pay-per-views in WWE that I think are going to suck, because if I pay for it and I don't stream it and I've actually put something into it other than just my time, I feel, and this is going to make me sound like an asshole, I feel more right slamming it if it sucks than somebody that never put anything into it to begin with. Because, those people that stream it or download it or whatever and then act like the TNA or WWE stole something from them are really, really blowing hot air. Whereas if I put my money and my time and my effort into it, I think I've got a little bit more of a beef. Is that fair? I think that's pretty fair. Now, with there being less pay-per-views, you knew there was going to be a price increase. Like I say, on the whole, it's less money throughout the year. But Genesis, which was actually tonight, and by the way, Hernandez and Chavo are still the champs. My boy Jeff Hardy is still the champ. Christopher Daniels is the new #1 contender for Jeff Hardy's title. Christian York beat Kenny King. A lot of awesome things happened tonight at Genesis that a lot of butthurt marks out there are sad about, and that kind of makes me happy. Because not because I want to make fun of anybody, not because I want to troll the hell out of anybody, but it makes Twitter a hell of a circus. I'll put that out there right now. Christian York, perfectly fine effort in 2 matches, goes over Kenny King, who more people like, so they freak the fuck out. James Storm is supposedly the new golden boy of TNA. It's absolutely unplausible that he actually lost to Christopher Daniels, who has been well overdue for a main event push for years. Chavo Guerrero, anybody denying the greatness of Chavo Guerrero can kiss my ass. Just putting it out there. Jeff Hardy's still the champion. I'm a Hardy mark. I've admitted it from the day I opened this channel, and I'm not going to apologize, and I'm not going to change. So there we go. Jeff Hardy can drop the belt when he's on his way back to WWE. That's what I think. That's, my opinion for what it's worth. Genesis was $35 tonight. As of next year, it'll be $40. Lockdown will be $35 this year. As of next year, it'll be $40. Slammiversary is going to be $40, and it'll stay $40 moving forward. And Bound for Glory is going to be $45. Now, everybody's thinking, oh my god, that's $10, that's $15, that's $20 more. WWE fans out there, think about it like this. Genesis and Lockdown this year are $35, which is still $10 less than you pay for a WWE show. They will be $40, and Slammiversary is going to be $40 this year. That's still $5 less than what you pay for a WWE pay-per-view. Bound for Glory is the same price as you pay for a WWE pay-per-view, but Bound for Glory is their WrestleMania, which you pay $55 here for or more. So it's still $10 less than you pay for a WWE pay-per-view, and there's only 4 shows. So do the math, see how much money they're saving that way. This part right here, the big 4 that are staying, the big 4 live Sunday night, live on the night type pay-per-views, and the way they've been adjusted price-wise, I have no problem with whatsoever, if I'm completely honest. What I have a problem with is the filler, and I didn't even bother writing this shit down. I copied it and I had it printed from a website because holy shit. The months, oh my... I can't take this seriously, I really can't. The months that we don't get a live Sunday night pay-per-view, we are going to get a pre-taped $15 Friday night pay-per-view. Now let's run that down. Friday night, how successful is SmackDown? Because it's on Friday? Yeah. $15. If you're paying $15 for a pay-per-view, you go into it expecting shit. As far as I'm concerned, you're paying like what, a third of what the price of a regular pay-per-view is, and it's pre-taped. I'm sorry, anything that has the possibility of a spoiler coming out before I get to see it, I'm not paying for. Just saying. On top of that, they're all called, if you remember the old school WWE filler pay-per-views, the in-your-house pay-per-views, that were, you know, admittedly some of them were quite good and some of them were not. They were all under the banner title of, what the hell were they called? They were called In Your House. Well, these ones are being called TNA One Night Only shows. And they're all themed pay-per-views. They're all gimmick pay-per-views. And I'm sorry, a lot of them just... I'll leave it to you. I really will. But I shake my head. TNA Extravaganza, featuring the stars of the X Division, airing in April, being taped, I don't know, a couple days ago or whatever. It's featuring nothing but Ultimate X matches. It'll obviously have the X Division Championship. It'll have the Ultimate X. It'll have the X Division Escape. All that kind of stuff. This is Destination X. Destination X, because of the importance of the X Division in TNA, Destination X should have stayed a live show. That's all I'm going to say about that. Other than that, Friday night, taped show, probably know the results before the show comes out. It's not worth it. The Joker's Wild Tag Team Special. Another theme, so it's going to be an entirely tag team devoted pay-per-view in a company whose tag team division has gone in the past little while, featuring only teams comprised of enemies and a battle royal final. So you're putting a bunch of teams together of people that don't get along, so you're going to have a whole bunch of Team Hell No's for the amusement factor, and what the hell is the point of putting them together into teams when the final of that tournament is a battle royal anyway? No point. TNA Hardcore Justice 2. ECW reunion-style hardcore show featuring the hardcore stipulation matches and bringing in old ECW talents. I didn't mind when they did the first Hardcore Justice. I really didn't, seeing some of the old guys come back. Stevie Richards, Raven, Balls Mahoney, and all those guys coming back for one show. If this is going to become an annual thing, I'm really, really not going to care. Because a lot of them just put on... I respect a lot of these guys. I really do. But your TNA trying to recreate ECW is just as bad as WWE making the ECW show. It's just not the same. They're bringing back people for name value to get a pop, which is fine. nobody benefits from it, and there's no future after it. Like, if this was, I don't know how you'd say it, if this was, like, today's tough wrestlers, like, if you wanted to, gag me with a spoon, but if you wanted to have, like, Matt Morgan going up against some other giant to show how tough he was, and they were going to have, like, a 3 Stages of Hell match or some shit like that, I could say, but if these guys are old ECW names coming back for one night, there's no build, and there's no fallout. It's just there. The interest isn't there. The TNA 10 reunion. Stars from the early days of TNA battling inside the six-sided ring. So, clearly they're trying to sell this pay-per-view based on the fact that they brought back the six-sided ring for one night. When they did that at Ultimate X, that was interesting, because the six-sided ring allows for a lot more angles and a lot more dexterity for high-flying guys and guys that do a lot of springboard moves and whatever. The six-sided ring really adds to that aspect, but just bringing back the six-sided ring for the sake of people wanting to see the ring back, if you're more a fan of the ring than the people competing in it, that's bad, isn't it? I got nothing else. This is one that makes me shake my head. TNA Knockouts Knockdown. This is an entirely knockout pay-per-view. An entirely women's wrestling pay-per-view. Please, I know TNA has better women's wrestling than WWE, but please tell me when in either company has given the women's division any chance or any credit worthy of having their own pay-per-view. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it. But the way women's wrestling has been driven into the ground over the past several years, nobody's going to believe that either women's division is strong enough to hold up an entire pay-per-view by itself. And on top of that, it's gimmick to hell. A one-night knockout tournament with the first round being all stipulation matches and the final 4 knockouts being thrown in a fatal 4-way test of stamina until one knockout is left standing. So basically, you're going to have 4 qualifying matches, which will get you your 4 competitors for the final match, and the final match sounds like a fatal 4-way Iron Woman match. Fatal 4-way Iron Woman match to main event a pay-per-view. I don't see it working. And like I say, it's not because I don't respect women's wrestling. If this is their way of giving women's wrestling a nod, then I guess I can kind of tip my hat to them for that, but I don't see people giving a shit. And a fatal 4-way Iron Woman match, it's a 5-match card, too. 5 women's matches. Who is going to pay pay-per-view money to see 5 women's matches? Even if you're like me, even if you respect the hell out of women's wrestling, it's the same as the tag team show. Like, I like tag team wrestling, but I'm not going to pay for an entirely tag team based show, especially when they're smashed together useless hell no-ish tag teams. Now, TNA, here's an interesting one. I say interesting because I would definitely sorry guys. I say interesting because I would definitely watch it if it was on TV. TNA's International Incident, a one-night tournament featuring talent from the United States, India, Mexico, Ireland, Canada, Germany, Japan, and the UK, with the winner earning a TNA title shot. So it's kind of like Tough Enough, it's kind of like NXT, it's kind of like the Gut Check, it's kind of like a lot of things like that. But let's be honest, you wouldn't have paid money to see Gut Check. You wouldn't have paid money to see NXT. You wouldn't have paid money to see Tough Enough. You just wouldn't. If you buy this show, you buy this show with the 99% knowledge that you're not going to know anybody on the show. Therefore, you're not going to be invested in anybody in the show. And in personal investment in the characters in wrestling is one of the things that makes you want to buy a pay-per-view. And it's not there. I mean, if you want to get a sneak peek at whatever the one new talent is that's actually going to come to TNA, and that's the reason you want to buy it, then I applaud you. I applaud you as a wrestling fan to be that invested in the new talent coming up. I don't see a lot of people picking up that much interest. Just me personally. And again, I go back to the fact that it's a pre-taped show. It's on a Friday night where it's not only competing with SmackDown, but it's competing with anybody that actually has a life on the weekend. Just saying. TNA X Division World Cup Tournament. 4 teams of X Division wrestlers wrestle in a one-night tournament featuring singles matches, tag matches, 6-man matches, and 8-man matches, with the final being a 4-on-4 match between the last 2 teams. sounds convoluted for the sake of being convoluted, but if you're going to have another entire show dedicated to the X Division, I can tip my hat to that. But I mean, if you can succeed in your singles match and the other two guys on your team fail in their tag team match, and that's what knocks you out of the tournament, there's logic gaps like that. And then after that, you got one World Cup, and then the next one will be the next World Cup, which is the TNA World Cup of Wrestling. 4 teams, each captained by a TNA wrestler. Each team featuring a heavyweight wrestler, a tag team, and an X Division wrestler battling in singles, tag, and stipulation bouts. And the finale to be... Somebody tell me what this is. The finale of this tournament will be a 2-ring triple chance battle royal, which to me sounds like TNA is going to try and recreate the War Games. Oh dear. Oh dear. They've thrown so much into these things as far as overbooking and stipulations and gimmicks, trying to make them special, that they've basically leached whatever might have been special out of them. I mean, at some point we have to have, okay, we've got a pay-per-view coming up next month. These are the stories happening in our company right now. Let's book matches based on those stories. But no, now all they're going to do, they're going to book towards a hardcore show. They're going to book towards a knockout show. So what are all the male members of the TNA roster going to do when they're booking towards a knockout pay-per-view? Yeah, some of you will say they'll be booking towards the next major pay-per-view, but in the meantime, not to say that women's wrestling doesn't deserve the spotlight once again, but they're going to be booked over the men, which has never ever happened, which is going to seem insulting to some people out there that are sexist and whatnot and whatever, not saying that they're right. We're going to have all these mashed together tag teams getting ready for a mashed up tag team tournament. Where are they going to get the time to book that in the shows? They're probably going to take time away from whatever legitimate tag teams they have left, which admittedly isn't very much. The tag team scenario right now in TNA should revolve around Chavo and Hernandez and Bad Influence, because Bad Influence is one of the best things, one of the most charismatic things happening in wrestling right now. The Hardcore reunion and the TNA 10 reunion, there's going to be no build towards them whatsoever. And the umbrella factor over all of these filler pay-per-views is that they are going to be pre-taped. We are going to know what happened at them well before they actually happen. We are going to be spending $15 on them, which that in itself tells you how good the show is going to be. And people have other shit to do on a Friday night. If you don't believe me, ask WWE how SmackDown's doing. The X Division themed pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it Destination X, whether you want to call it something else, should have been one of their big 4 actual pay-per-views. The rest of it, I don't seem like they're intriguing ideas, but there's so many of them happening at once that none of them will have time to develop, and I can't see myself getting interested in them whatsoever. Anyways, I've ranted enough. That's basically all I've read, all I've heard, all I know about. If you know more, tell me down in the box below. If you have a thought about anything that I've just said right now, if you think I'm totally off my rocker and you're actually excited about these themed Friday night pay-per-views, put it down in the box below and tell me why. If you have a problem with the pay-per-views that are actually going to stay as live pay-per-views, which is the only kind of good thing that I can see in all this, put it down in the box below. Really want to get a conversation going. Don't want to be a complete downer. Like I say, I do see some glimmers of light and some intriguing ideas happening here. I just think that they've tossed out way too many ideas and way too many changes in the format really quickly, hoping that some of them would work. Some of them will work. I guarantee you some of them won't. By the time we get to the end of this year, I wonder if their plans already to put this in place in 2014 won't be backpedaled a little bit. Anyways, that's all I got. Like I say, haven't done a TNA video in forever. If you guys have some TNA-related topics you'd like me to talk about, toss them down in the box below, toss me an inbox message, or whatever, because I really don't, like I say, I really don't do it that much. And if you guys want it, I will try and toss a little something out there for the TNA fan base. Till then, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep this conversation going. Tell me what you think about TNA's new pay-per-view plan. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.
So shine, you're a freak like me.